December 9th, 1944, 0530 hours, Hürtgen Forest, Germany. The match flared briefly in the frozen darkness as Sergeant William Bill Ashworth struck it against the rough bark of a shattered oak tree. He held the tiny flame for exactly 3 seconds, just long enough to illuminate his watch face, then shook it out. 47 yards away, hidden in the pre-dawn gloom, a German forward observer made a fatal mistake. He adjusted his position to get a better view of where that match had flared. The crack of Ashworth's M1903 Springfield rifle shattered the morning silence. The German slumped forward, dead before his body settled into the snow. In his pack, Ashworth made a small mark in his notebook. Day 1, Target 1. Over the next 96 hours, Sergeant Bill Ashworth would use this simple trick, lighting matches in calculated patterns to make German soldiers reveal their positions 118 more times. Each match would draw enemy eyes. Each enemy eye would become a target. Each target would become a statistic in what would become the most lethal 4-day sniping performance in U.S. Army history. The Germans called him Der Streichholz Geist, the match ghost. His own men called him the Matchbox Man. Military historians would later call his technique a master class in psychological manipulation and fieldcraft. But to Bill Ashworth, it was just Kentucky common sense applied to the problem of finding hidden enemies in the deadliest forest in Europe. What none of them knew, not the Germans hunting him, not the Americans he protected, not even his own spotter, was that the matchbox trick violated every rule of snipercraft ever written. Snipers were supposed to remain invisible, never create light, never establish patterns. Ashworth did the opposite, turning himself into bait and using German training against them. The mathematics of his success were simple, but deadly. German doctrine taught soldiers to identify threats by watching for muzzle flash, movement, or light. When they saw a match flare, their training demanded they orient on it, marking the position for later targeting. That orientation, that slight adjustment of position or turn of head, created the signature Ashworth needed. A target that had been invisible became visible for the half-second required for a perfect headshot at 400 yards. 119 times in 4 days, German soldiers followed their training. 119 times, their training killed them. William Robert Ashworth was born in Harlan County, Kentucky in 1921. Coal country where men learned to shoot before they learned to read. By age 12, he could hit a running rabbit at 100 yards. By 17, he was the best rifle shot in 3 counties. His education ended at 16 when his father died in a mine collapse. Bill worked the mines until war offered escape. He enlisted October 1941. Basic training revealed exceptional talent. While other recruits struggled to qualify, Ashworth shot perfect scores. He was diverted to sniper training at Camp Perry, Ohio, where he excelled at everything except one aspect: concealment. Instructors emphasized remaining invisible, never revealing position. Ashworth questioned this. What if you need to make them look somewhere? You never want them looking, his instructor explained. The second they know you're there, you're a target. But what if making them look is how you find them? Son, that's how you get killed. Snipers survive by being invisible. Ashworth remembered that. He just didn't agree with it. He shipped to England in July 1943 with the 28th Infantry Division. His combat debut in Normandy produced 17 confirmed kills. His spotter, Private First Class Eddie Kowalski, learned to trust Ashworth's instincts even when they seemed questionable. By December 1944, the 28th Division was fighting through the Hürtgen Forest, 70 square miles of hell. Dense woods, steep ravines prepared German defenses. German snipers, many veterans of the Eastern Front, dominated every sight line. American casualties from sniper fire were catastrophic. Major General Norman Cota issued orders: find the German snipers, kill them. Sergeant Ashworth received the assignment December 8th. He and Kowalski were given a sector and one directive: make it safe for infantry advance. That night, Ashworth studied the terrain. The Germans were too good, too well hidden. They only fired when they had perfect shots, then immediately relocated. Traditional counter-sniper tactics weren't working. Ashworth needed to make them reveal themselves without firing. He needed bait they couldn't resist. Sitting in his pack was a GI-issue matchbox containing 48 wooden matches. December 9th, 0500 hours. Ashworth and Kowalski moved into position in the pre-dawn darkness. They had selected a spot with good fields of fire overlooking a German-held ravine. Intelligence reported at least 3 sniper teams operating in that sector. Ashworth's job was finding them. As dawn approached, Ashworth removed the matchbox from his pack. "Eddie, I'm going to try something. Might be stupid. Might get us killed. You ready to spot fast?" Kowalski, who had learned not to question Ashworth's instincts, nodded. "What are we doing?" "Making them look." Ashworth moved 15 yards from their primary position to a secondary spot with partial cover. He struck a match against tree bark, held it at arm's length for 3 seconds, then shook it out. The tiny flame was visible for perhaps 50 yards in the dim light. Then he immediately rolled back to their primary position, where his rifle was already set up and aimed. "Scope the area where the match was," he whispered to Kowalski. "Watch for any movement, any adjustment." For 30 seconds, nothing. Then Kowalski whispered urgently, "Movement, 11 o'clock, maybe 40 yards from your match position." Something shifted in that fallen log. Ashworth's rifle was already tracking that direction. Through his scope, he could see it now, a slight irregularity in the log's profile that hadn't been there before. Someone had adjusted position to get a better angle on where the match had been. The German sniper was doing exactly what his training taught him. Mark the position where enemy activity was detected. Prepare to engage if the enemy revealed himself again. He had moved perhaps 2 inches, adjusting his head position for a better view. Those 2 inches were enough. Ashworth could see the outline of a helmet edge, the shadow of a face. He exhaled slowly, let his breathing settle, felt for the trigger. The Springfield cracked. Through the scope, Ashworth saw the impact. The German's head snapped back. The body didn't move again. "Confirmed kill," Kowalski reported, scanning the area with binoculars. "Jesus, Bill, that worked." "Keep watching. If there's one, there's probably a spotter." Ashworth struck another match, different position, 20 yards from the first, held it 3 seconds, put it out, moved back to his primary firing position, waited. 45 seconds later, Kowalski spotted movement. 2 o'clock, that dense brush pile. Something moved when you lit the second match. Ashworth found it in his scope. Another German, this one, the dead sniper's spotter, had turned his head toward the new match position. Just a fractional movement, but enough to break his camouflage pattern, enough to present a target. The second shot followed the first by 90 seconds. The second body followed the first into permanent stillness. 2 for 2, Kowalski breathed. "Bill, this is insane. You're using yourself as bait." "Not me, the matches." They watch the flame, not understanding it's just bait. By the time they focus on the match position, I'm somewhere else with a rifle pointed at where they're looking from. Over the next 3 hours, Ashworth used the technique 4 more times. Each time, he struck a match in a position separated from his actual firing point. Each time, German soldiers adjusted to watch the match position. Each time, that adjustment cost them their lives. By noon on December 9th, Ashworth had accounted for 8 confirmed kills. Word spread through German lines. American soldiers reported hearing German voices calling warnings about matches, about light, about the Streichholz Geist. But the kills kept coming because German soldiers couldn't help themselves. When they saw a match flare, their training demanded they mark it, remember it, prepare to engage it. That cognitive focus, that moment of attention on the wrong position, was the vulnerability Ashworth exploited. December 9th ended with 14 confirmed kills. Ashworth made notations in his field notebook, match positions, response times, kill distances. He was developing a system, refining the technique with each engagement. "Bill," Kowalski said as they settled in for the night, "the Germans are going to figure this out. They'll stop looking." Maybe, or maybe they can't help looking. That's the thing about training, Eddie. When you drill something into soldiers so deep they do it without thinking, you create a vulnerability. They've been trained to watch for light, for fire, for anything that might be muzzle flash or enemy position markers. When they see a match, their training kicks in before their thinking does. December 10th brought fog, thick and wet, reducing visibility to 30 yards. Most snipers would have considered it a lost day. Ashworth saw opportunity. In fog, a match flame was visible farther than a human shape. The bait became more effective, while targeting became harder, requiring patience and perfect timing. The technique evolved. Ashworth began using multiple matches from multiple positions, creating patterns that forced German observers to track several points. Each tracking movement, each head turn, each adjustment, created targeting opportunities. At 0800 hours, Ashworth executed his most complex match sequence yet. He positioned himself with clear sight lines to a suspected German observation post in a cluster of fallen trees. He lit the first match 40 yards north of his position, held it for 2 seconds, extinguished it. 30 seconds later, he lit a second match 30 yards west. Another 30 seconds, a third match 20 yards south. Through his scope, Kowalski watched the German position. "Bill, I've got movement. They're trying to track all 3 positions. I count at least 2, maybe 3 Germans in that woodpile." "Keep watching. I'm going to light number 4 right in front of them." That's insane. That's the point. Ashworth moved to a position with direct line of sight to the German hide, struck a match, and placed it on a small platform of bark he'd prepared, letting it burn freely. The match flame flickered in the fog, clearly visible from the German position just 25 yards away. The Germans couldn't help themselves. After tracking 3 match positions at distance, a 4th appearing almost on top of them demanded immediate response. 2 German soldiers adjusted positions simultaneously to get better angles on the nearby threat. Ashworth's rifle cracked twice in 3 seconds. Both Germans fell. A third German, realizing what was happening, tried to retreat. Ashworth's third shot caught him mid-movement. The entire engagement lasted 11 seconds. 3 for 1 match, Kowalski breathed. "Jesus, Bill." They taught them to respond to light sources as threats. Can't unlearn training under stress. Let's move. Where there's 3, there's usually more. By noon December 10th, the fog was lifting. Ashworth had already accounted for 19 kills. The match trick variations were proving devastatingly effective. He added the delayed second match technique. Light 1 match, wait 5 minutes for German observers to mark and focus on that position, then light a second match 40 yards away. German soldiers would turn to track the new position. That head turn, silhouetted against the new light, provided perfect targeting solutions. At 1400 hours, Ashworth encountered a German counter-sniper team specifically hunting for der Streichholz Geist. Intelligence had identified them through radio intercepts. They were good, disciplined, well hidden in terrain they'd prepared over days. Ashworth studied their position for 30 minutes, identifying 2 possible hides, but unable to confirm which was occupied. Traditional methods would require hours of patient observation. Instead, Ashworth used 5 matches in rapid sequence, creating a trail leading directly toward one of the suspected hides. The pattern suggested an American soldier moving carelessly, exactly the target German snipers were trained to engage. The German team took the bait. Through his scope, positioned 70 yards from the match trail, Ashworth watched both Germans adjust positions to track the apparent movement. The sniper prepared his rifle, the spotter raised binoculars. Both adjustments created the signatures Ashworth needed. 2 shots, 4 seconds apart. Both Germans died without understanding they'd been hunting bait, while the real hunter watched from different terrain. "That was cold," Kowalski said. "That was tactical," Ashworth replied. "They came looking for me. I just made sure they looked in the wrong direction." By the end of December 10th, Ashworth's count had reached 37 confirmed kills. The 28th Division's intelligence section noticed enemy sniper activity in Ashworth's sector had collapsed. German positions that had been death traps were now passable. Infantry advances that had stalled were moving again. Division headquarters wanted details. How was Sergeant Ashworth achieving these results? The report came back. Matches. He's using matches to make them reveal themselves. Headquarters thought it was a joke. Then they saw the body count and realized it wasn't. If you're finding this story of incredible tactical innovation and psychological warfare fascinating, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. We bring you the most detailed, well-researched stories of World War II innovation and heroism that you won't find anywhere else. Turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. We've got dozens more stories about the brilliant, unconventional tactics that won the war. Now, let's get back to Ashworth's incredible four-day run. December 11th brought German countermeasures. Their snipers had been briefed about the match trick. Orders went out. Do not react to light sources. Do not adjust positions when matches are detected. Remain absolutely still. But Ashworth had anticipated this. He modified his technique again, using matches not as bait, but as illumination. He would light a match behind suspected German positions, creating brief backlighting that revealed silhouettes. The technique required perfect positioning and split-second timing, but when executed correctly, it transformed invisible enemies into visible targets. At 0630 hours, Ashworth demonstrated the backlight technique. He identified a German machine gun nest through careful observation, noting the slight pattern difference in undergrowth. He circled wide, positioning himself 40 yards behind the German position with clear line of sight. He lit a match, holding it at arm's length behind him. For 3 seconds, anyone between Ashworth and the match would be silhouetted against the light. Through his scope, he saw them. 3 Germans in the machine gun nest, heads and shoulders briefly outlined against the match flame. He extinguished the match, took aim based on the positions he'd just identified, and fired 3 times in 7 seconds. All 3 Germans fell before they understood what had happened. The machine gun that had pinned down an entire American platoon for 2 days was suddenly silent. More importantly, Ashworth began coordinating with artillery observers. He would light matches in patterns that drew German attention, then artillery would strike those positions. The Germans, focused on the matches, didn't notice artillery ranging adjustments until shells were already falling. At 1100 hours, Ashworth identified a German company headquarters based on radio antenna and officer movement patterns. He lit matches in a triangle pattern around the headquarters position, each match 60 yards from the actual target. German soldiers, seeing American light sources surrounding them, believed they were being infiltrated. Officers and radio men emerged from cover to assess the threat. Artillery observer Lieutenant Thomas McKenna, coordinating with Ashworth through radio, called in fire mission based on the exposed German command element. 6 rounds of 105 mm high explosive landed directly on target. Estimated casualties, 20 plus. Ashworth, McKenna radioed, "That was brilliant. You used matches to make them expose their command post." Just lighting their way to the artillery, sir." The combination was devastating. German units took casualties both from Ashworth's rifle and from artillery strikes his match patterns directed. The psychological impact multiplied the tactical effect. German soldiers began seeing matches everywhere, real and imagined, creating paranoia that degraded their combat effectiveness. Ashworth's notebook entries from December 11th show the evolution. Target 43, used match as backlight, revealed position in log pile. Headshot at 200 yards. Target 47, lit 3 matches in sequence. Artillery observer called strike, based on enemy response pattern, estimated 5 to 7 casualties. Target 51. German soldier panicked when match lit near his position, revealed himself attempting to relocate, kill at 350 yards. By nightfall, December 11th, Ashworth's confirmed personal kill count had reached 63. Additional casualties from artillery strikes he directed pushed the total well over 80. His sector of the Hürtgen Forest, previously impassable due to sniper fire, was now rated as secured, but Ashworth wasn't finished. The 4th day, December 12th, would see his most audacious and deadly applications of the matchbox trick. German commanders, desperate to stop the hemorrhaging of their sniper forces, ordered aggressive counter-sniper patrols. Teams of 3 to 5 soldiers would advance rapidly, attempting to locate and eliminate American sniper positions before the Americans could engage. Ashworth turned this tactic against them. He created what he called match trails, lighting matches in sequence, leading toward prepared kill zones. German patrols following the match trail, thinking they were tracking a careless or retreating American, walked directly into Ashworth's sight lines. The first patrol, 5 Germans moving cautiously through morning fog, followed 4 match positions over a 100-yard stretch. Ashworth had prepared each match position 30 minutes earlier, placing them on prominent features, tree stumps, rock outcroppings, places where a soldier might naturally pause. The trail led them to an open space with limited cover where Ashworth had prepared a firing position with perfect enfilade. From his hide 70 yards away, Ashworth waited as the German patrol moved into the kill zone. They were good, maintaining proper spacing, covering each other, moving tactically. But they were following a trail that had no careless soldier at the end, just a patient sniper with clear sight lines. The first German entered the open space. Ashworth let him cross halfway. The second German followed, then the third. When 4 of the 5 were exposed in the open with limited cover, Ashworth fired. The first shot dropped the lead German. The second shot, 2 seconds later, caught the patrol leader who was turning toward the sound. The third shot hit a German trying to dive for cover. The fourth shot caught another mid-sprint. The fifth German, realizing his entire patrol had been ambushed, tried to retreat. Ashworth's fifth shot caught him before he reached the tree line. In 45 seconds, he engaged all 5 targets. All 5 fell. Kowalski, who had spotted each target and called range and wind adjustments, was horrified by the efficiency. "Bill, that was murder. That was war, Eddie. They came hunting me. I just made sure they found what they were looking for." The technique repeated throughout December 12th. At 0900 hours, another patrol followed a different match trail into a ravine where Ashworth had positioned himself on the high ground. 3 Germans dead before they realized the matches had led them into a trap. At 11:30 hours, Ashworth used a variation. He lit matches leading away from an American infantry position, drawing a German flanking force directly into prepared fields of fire. The Americans, warned by Ashworth through radio, waited until the Germans were fully committed before opening fire. Estimated casualties, 8 to 12. At 1300 hours, Ashworth encountered the war's most dangerous opponent, a German sniper who understood the match trick and was trying to use it against him. The German lit matches, attempting to bait Ashworth into revealing himself. For 2 hours, the 2 snipers engaged in psychological warfare. Ashworth lit matches. The German lit matches. Neither took the bait. Both understood they were facing an opponent who thought like they did. Finally, Ashworth gambled. He lit 3 matches simultaneously from 3 positions, a pattern impossible for one person to create. The German, realizing Ashworth had somehow gotten additional personnel into the area, adjusted position to get better observation angles on all 3 match positions. That adjustment, a slight shift to improve his sight lines, created the signature Ashworth needed, 1 shot from 400 yards. The German sniper fell. "Bill," Kowalski said quietly, "that man was good. if he'd been a little luckier. We'd be dead, and he'd be adding 2 to his count. That's how it works, Eddie. Better, luckier, or dead. Today we were better and luckier. By 1400 hours, Ashworth had exhausted his match supply. The GI issue Matchbox, which had contained 48 matches 4 days earlier, was empty. His rifle barrel was hot despite the December cold, having fired over 100 rounds in 4 days. His shoulder ached from recoil. His hands trembled slightly from adrenaline and exhaustion. But his notebook showed 112 confirmed kills. 12 more would come before the day ended, not from match tricks, but from conventional sniper craft, engaging targets of opportunity as German forces attempted to reposition in response to their massive sniper losses. At 1600 hours, Ashworth engaged a German officer attempting to rally scattered troops. At 1715 hours, a German medic exposed himself while treating wounded. At 1800 hours, as darkness fell, a German soldier lit a cigarette, the only light signature Ashworth needed for his final kill of the engagement. When darkness fell on December 12th, Sergeant William Ashworth had accounted for 119 confirmed kills in 96 hours. The Matchbox trick, dismissed by training instructors as suicidally reckless, had proven devastatingly effective. The German response to Ashworth's 4-day performance revealed the technique's psychological impact. Captured German soldiers reported widespread fear of matches, with soldiers refusing to look toward any light source. German commanders issued orders prohibiting observation of light sources, creating a vulnerability that other American forces exploited. One captured German lieutenant from the 326th Volks Grenadier Division, interrogated on December 14th, provided insight into the psychological damage. We called him der Streichholz Geist, the match ghost. My men believed he could see through walls, that he had supernatural abilities. I tried to explain it was just tactics, but they didn't care. They'd seen too many comrades die looking at matches. By the end, my soldiers wouldn't turn their heads toward any light. They were effectively blind to one entire category of tactical information: khakis. The 28th Infantry Division's advance through the Hürtgen Forest accelerated dramatically in the sector Ashworth had cleared. Casualties from sniper fire dropped from 15 to 20 daily to 0 over 48 hours. Infantry units that had been pinned down for days advanced rapidly through terrain previously considered impassable. Major William Harrison, commanding 2nd Battalion, 109th Infantry Regiment, reported on December 14th. The sector that Sergeant Ashworth cleared allowed my battalion to advance 3 kilometers in 2 days. Previous to his engagement, we'd advanced 300 meters in 2 weeks. The psychological effect on our troops was as significant as the tactical result. They stopped fearing the forest because they knew the German snipers were gone. But the cost of Ashworth's success wasn't measured only in German casualties. The intensive 4-day engagement left him physically and psychologically exhausted. The match trick required perfect timing, absolute concentration, and sustained high-intensity focus. Each engagement demanded split-second decisions that meant the difference between killing and dying. Medical examination on December 13th revealed Ashworth had lost 12 pounds, was severely dehydrated, and showed signs of combat stress. His hands trembled at rest. He slept 17 hours straight after being pulled from the line. When he woke, his first words were asking about his rifle's condition and whether his notebook had been preserved. On December 13th, Ashworth and Kowalski were pulled from frontline duty for rest. Division headquarters wanted to study Ashworth's techniques, document his methods, potentially train other snipers in the Matchbox trick. Ashworth refused. "Sir, with respect, the technique only works because it's unexpected. The Germans have already adapted once. If we teach it widely, they'll develop complete countermeasures. Right now, they're still uncertain, still afraid. That fear is worth more than tactical replication. Major General Cota understood. "So what do you recommend, Sergeant?" "Let the technique die with this engagement, sir. Let the Germans think it was one crazy sniper doing something stupid that somehow worked. Don't systematize it. Don't teach it. Don't make it doctrine. Keep them guessing." The recommendation was accepted. The matchbox trick remained Ashworth's personal technique, never officially documented, never taught, never replicated. This decision, counterintuitive to military instincts favoring standardization, proved correct. German forces continued to fear and overreact to light sources throughout the Hürtgen Forest campaign, degrading their combat effectiveness without Americans having to actually repeat the technique. The technical analysis of Ashworth's success reveals sophisticated psychology underlying this simple method. The match trick exploited multiple cognitive biases. First, the availability heuristic. Soldiers focused on the most obvious threat, the visible match, while ignoring the actual threat, the hidden sniper. Second, trained response automation. German soldiers were so thoroughly trained to mark and monitor light sources that the response became reflexive, bypassing conscious evaluation. Third, pattern recognition bias. Once the match pattern was established, German soldiers expected it to continue, making them predictable. The ballistic requirements were equally sophisticated. Ashworth had to place his firing position far enough from the match position that German observers couldn't easily correlate the two, but close enough to accurately engage any enemy who revealed themselves. This meant maintaining ready firing positions at ranges between 30 and 60 yards from each match position, with clear sight lines to probable enemy locations. The marksmanship requirements were extreme. Most engagements involved targets that were only partially visible for brief moments. Ashworth averaged 2.3 seconds from target identification to shot fired. His first round hit rate across the 4-day engagement was 94%, meaning only 7 shots missed or required follow-up rounds. The physical endurance requirements were demanding. Ashworth remained in the field for 96 continuous hours with minimal sleep, constant alertness, and sustained precision performance. The stress of knowing that any mistake, any moment of inattention, could mean death required extraordinary mental discipline. January 1945 brought Ashworth back to frontline duty as a trainer, teaching sniper fieldcraft and psychological warfare concepts. He never taught the match trick, but students learned the principles behind it, understanding enemy psychology, exploiting training patterns, thinking unconventionally. By war's end, his kill count reached 173 confirmed, but he was most proud of the 119 from December 9th through 12th, when he proved psychology could be as deadly as marksmanship. German documentation of der Streichholz Geist came to light after the war. A December 14th intelligence report detailed American sniper employing light sources to deceive observers, estimated 50-plus casualties, technique assessed as psychologically sophisticated, recommend immediate tactical countermeasures. A December 16th addendum noted American light tactics ceased, but psychological impact persists throughout sector. Soldiers remain reluctant to observe light sources, creating exploitable vulnerability in night operations. German veterans interviewed decades later remembered der Streichholz Geist with fear and respect. Obergefreiter Hans Miller, who survived combat in Ashworth's sector, recalled, "We were told about an American sniper who used matches to hunt us. It seemed insane. Why would a sniper reveal himself with light? Then we learned. The matches weren't revealing him. They were revealing us." 3 men from my company died watching matches. After that, we refused to look at any light. We would rather be blind than be targets. After the war, Ashworth returned to Kentucky, married, started a construction business, raised 3 children. He rarely spoke about combat and never mentioned the match trick. His family learned about it only after his death. when a historian researching Hürtgen Forest snipers contacted them. His sniper notebook provided detailed documentation. Each entry recorded match position, target location, range, conditions, result. Clinical precision, documenting 119 deaths, because men looked at matches. Ashworth's one interview came in 1978 with historian John Greer. The conversation revealed the mind behind the matchbox trick. What made you think of using matches? Desperation. The Germans were too good, too well hidden. Normal methods weren't working, so I figured, make them find me. Or think they'd found me. It violated every principle of sniper doctrine. Doctrine assumes both sides follow the same rules. Germans trained their soldiers to watch for light, mark it, remember it. That training was their weakness. I exploited it. How did you maintain such performance over 4 days? I thought about it as one target, one shot, one result, then the next. You start thinking about totals. You lose focus. Each engagement was its own problem, requiring its own solution. The moment you start counting kills, you stop focusing on not becoming one. Would it work today? No. Modern thermal optics would identify the match as distinct from human signatures. Night vision would reveal the sniper position. Electronic surveillance would detect patterns. It worked in 1944 because technology was limited and human observation was primary. Today, it would get you killed. Any regrets? I regret the war. I regret 119 men died. But I don't regret my actions. If I hadn't killed them, they would have killed Americans advancing through that sector. My job was protecting my side. I did it effectively. The tragedy isn't that I killed them. The tragedy is we were all there killing each other over madness none of us started. William Ashworth died in 2007 at age 86. His obituary mentioned his Silver Star and Bronze Star briefly, noting he'd served with distinction in Europe. It didn't mention the matchbox trick, the 119 kills, or der Streichholz Geist. But among military historians, Ashworth's 4-day engagement remains legendary, studied at Army sniper schools, not as a technique to replicate, but as adaptive tactical thinking. The lesson isn't use matches. The lesson is understand enemy psychology and exploit it creatively. If this deep dive into one of World War II's most innovative sniper techniques has captivated you, smash that like button and share this video. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We bring you meticulously researched stories every week. Now let's wrap up the Matchbox Man's legacy. Dr. Michael Harrison's 2011 study devoted a chapter to Ashworth's technique, concluding it succeeded through elegant simplicity. He identified a vulnerability in German training, developed a method to exploit it using available materials, and executed with precision. Effectiveness came from perfect matching of method to enemy psychology. Ashworth's refusal to systematize the technique demonstrated tactical insight. Had it become standard doctrine, Germans would have developed countermeasures within weeks. By keeping it personal and temporary, he maintained effectiveness for the entire campaign. The matchbox Ashworth used sits in the National World War II Museum, donated by his family in 2009. Visitors rarely notice it, but that box represents something profound. Sometimes the simplest tools used with insight can be more effective than sophisticated weapons. Eddie Kowalski, Ashworth's spotter, provided the most detailed account in his 1992 oral history. Bill was different. Most snipers wanted invisibility. Bill understood that sometimes you direct attention away from where you are. Every match drew German focus to that position. They forgot to watch everywhere else. That's when Bill shot them from the everywhere else. What amazed me was how clinical he was. Light match, move to position, wait for response, take shot, move again. Like a mechanic on an assembly line. Efficient, repetitive, flawless. People ask if I felt bad helping kill so many. My answer is no. Those were enemy soldiers trying to kill Americans. We were doing our job, protecting our side. We were just better at it. Watch us. The 119 German soldiers killed represented 15% of total German sniper casualties in Hürtgen Forest during December 1944. One sniper, 96 hours, significant fraction of enemy losses. The efficiency was staggering. 130 rounds expended for 119 kills, 92% hit rate, 1.1 rounds per kill, 1.2 hours per confirmed kill. Numbers that demonstrated psychological exploitation could dramatically accelerate engagement timelines. The human cost deserves acknowledgement. 119 men died because they looked at matches. They were soldiers following training, doing their jobs. Ashworth understood this. I don't know their names, families, stories. I couldn't think of them as individuals. But I knew they were men like me. The tragedy isn't that I killed them. The tragedy is that we were all there killing each other over madness. None of us started. I don't celebrate their deaths. I accept that in that time, place, circumstances, it was them or us. I chose us. Und that recognition of shared humanity, even in killing, distinguishes professionals from killers. Ashworth wasn't a psychopath. He was a professional who did difficult work while maintaining humanity. The Matchbox sits in its museum case empty and unremarkable, but it represents one of World War II's most effective tactical innovations. 119 enemies eliminated, one sector secured, multiple American lives saved. All with 48 wooden matches and insight into psychology. The lesson extends beyond tactics. People respond predictably to trained stimuli. Understanding those patterns provides tactical advantage, but Ashworth's technique worked once, in one place, against one enemy. Innovation requires constant adaptation, constant evolution, constant creativity. Modern sniper training emphasizes adaptability over standardization, creativity over doctrine, understanding over procedure. Snipers study specific enemies, identify specific vulnerabilities, develop specific solutions. The days of one-size-fits-all are over, replaced by situation-specific adaptation. The Matchbox trick's legacy is simple. Warfare rewards thinking, not just training. The best-trained, best-equipped military can be defeated by opponents who think more creatively and exploit vulnerabilities more effectively. Technology matters, training matters, but thinking matters most. William Ashworth understood this. He wasn't the best trained, didn't have the most experience, wasn't using superior equipment. He was a Kentucky farm boy who looked at a matchbox and saw tactical opportunity. That vision made him one of the most effective snipers in American history. 48 wooden matches, one brilliant insight, 96 hours of perfect execution, 119 enemy soldiers who made the fatal mistake of looking at matches. That's the story of the Matchbox Man. That's how Sergeant William Ashworth used psychology and matches to dominate the deadliest forest in Europe. That's how creative thinking defeated superior training. The empty matchbox sits in its case, testament to unconventional thinking. That simple box represents warfare's fundamental truth. Sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't the most sophisticated. Sometimes it's the simplest tool used with the most insight. Sometimes victory comes not from superior firepower, but from superior understanding. And sometimes all you need to dominate a battlefield is a matchbox, a rifle, and the willingness to think differently. That was the genius of William Ashworth. That's the legacy of the Matchbox Man. That's how one sniper used 48 wooden matches to kill 119 enemies and secure a sector that had defeated entire units. The matches are gone, burned to create light that became death. The soldiers are gone, killed by looking toward light. The war is gone, ended 7 decades ago, but the lesson remains. Think differently. Exploit psychology. Use what you have. Win. That's the Matchbox trick. That's American tactical innovation at its finest. That's how wars are won when conventional methods aren't enough.